Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an idea that kind of flips business problem solving on its head. What if the most logical, rational answer is actually the wrong one? And what if the real game changers come from something a little more like, well, magic? So, let's kick things off with this amazing quote from advertising legend Rory Sutherland. He basically says, look, being rational is fine. It's the bronze standard. It's safe, you probably won't get fired for it, but it's never going to get you breakthrough results. If you want to win gold, you got to find the magic.
Okay, so what does that actually mean? To really get it, let's dig into a classic problem. This one really highlights the limits of that purely logical, engineering-style thinking. It's a trap that, honestly, so many businesses fall right into without even seeing it.
All right, put yourself in this situation. You're in charge. You have to improve this journey, make it more appealing to people. What's the first thing that pops into your head? For most of us, the logical, straightforward answer is just make the train faster, right? Shave some time off the trip.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because you've got two completely different ways of thinking. The engineer's answer is all about changing objective reality, literally, the number of minutes on the clock. But the magician, they're not touching that. Instead, they change the subjective experience of those minutes. They're not saving time, they're making the time you do spend way, way better.
I mean, look at that number. The difference in cost is just staggering. The rational engineering fix costs a fortune, literally billions. But the psychological solution, it gets you a similar, maybe even better, result for just a tiny, tiny fraction of that cost. It's such a powerful reminder that it's not always about the quantity of time, it's about the quality.
Okay, so we've established that the gold standard is this magic. But what is it, really? How does it actually work out in the real world? Well, it all comes down to mastering the art of the reframe. It's about learning to see a problem through a psychological lens first, not just a logical one.
And let's be super clear here. This isn't about trickery or deception. Not at all. It's actually about having a much deeper, more empathetic understanding of human nature. It's about recognizing that, for all of us, our perception of something is our reality. And you know what? That feeling, that perception, is often way more powerful than the objective facts.
All right, let me tell you a great story about Winston Churchill that just perfectly illustrates this. So picture this. He's at a huge state dinner, a royal banquet, and he's suddenly facing this classic lose-lose situation. The logical options? They're both awful. Either he causes a massive diplomatic incident or he just lets a thief get away with stealing state property. What do you do?
Well, instead of picking one of those two terrible rational options, Churchill spots a third path. He decides it's time for a little social magic.
And this is just pure genius. He doesn't accuse the guy. He doesn't ignore it. He completely reframes the entire situation. He turns a potential confrontation into this moment of shared, gentle conspiracy. By making himself a partner in crime, he changes the whole emotional dynamic and solves the problem with absolutely zero conflict. Now that is magic.
Okay, this is all great in theory, right? But how can you actually start finding these kinds of solutions in your own work? Let's dive into a couple of practical techniques. It really starts with just rewiring how you even look for opportunities in the first place.
Think about it like this. Most businesses are set up for what you could call exploitation. That means they're really good at doing what they already do, just a little bit better, a little more efficiently. It's like shopping at Walmart. You have a list, you know what you want, and you just go get it. But the real magic, the real breakthroughs, they come from exploration. That's more like wandering through a TJ Maxx. You don't have a list, you have no idea what you'll find, but you're open to discovering something amazing. You've got to make time for both.
Okay, technique number 2 is all about stopping the copycat game, right? Most companies are constantly benchmarking against their competitors. And what happens? Everyone starts to look and sound the same. Reverse benchmarking flips that on its head. You find the one thing the entire industry is bad at, the thing everyone ignores, and you decide to be amazing at it. You don't just play the game better, you completely change the rules.
And the reason this works so well is because you're delivering an unexpectedly great experience right where people expect a bad one. Think about it. A fancy restaurant that has mind-blowing coffee and beer? You remember that. When the whole computer industry was just chasing faster processing speeds, Steve Jobs focused on making them beautiful and easy to use. And hey, when every single gas station has gross restrooms, a chain like Buc-ee's comes along, makes theirs famously spotless, and builds a literal cult following. It works.
So I know what you might be thinking. Does all this magic stuff actually translate to the bottom line? Is there real, hard, measurable value here? Well, the answer is a huge, resounding yes. And sometimes it's just staggering.
This is a perfect example. London needed to increase its public transport capacity. The logical engineer's answer, build a brand new tube line. Cost, £20 billion. But the magical solution? Somebody realized they could just add the existing but separate overground rail lines to the famous tube map. All of a sudden, this confusing network became simple to understand. Ridership shot up. A simple design change, literally just ink on paper, did the same job as a massive multi-billion-pound construction project. Incredible.
Or check this one out, a tiny psychological tweak with a massive financial payoff. An airline just changed its booking website. All they did was show the price for the premium ticket right next to the economy one. A small interface change. It cost them maybe £25,000 to implement. The result? It generated over £10 million in extra high-margin revenue every single year. That is an insane return on investment.
Here's another great one. A hotel figures out that some of its guests will pay a lot more for convenience, so they take a totally standard room that happens to be near the pool. They don't change a thing about it physically. They just start calling it a pool access room, and they charge more for it, and people happily pay. No construction, no renovations. The value was always there. It just needed to be reframed. It wasn't built, it was simply revealed by understanding what people really want.
So, when you put all this together, what's the big takeaway? It's really about fundamentally changing the lens you use to look at problems. It's about giving yourself and your team permission to look past the obvious, safe, rational answer.
And you know, that can be really hard to do, because we're all held back by this very powerful, very human fear, the fear of looking silly. The economist John Maynard Keynes nailed it when he said, "It's better for your reputation to fail in a conventional way than to succeed in an unconventional one." It just feels safer to fail in a way that everyone gets, right? And that fear is what pushes us toward those safe, logical, and ultimately kind of mediocre solutions.
So the next time you're facing a tough challenge, try to resist the pull of the obvious answer. Don't just ask, what's the most logical solution here? Ask a different set of questions. Ask, where's the magic? What's the small, maybe even weird-sounding psychological tweak that could completely change how people see this? Because that is where the real alchemy happens.